Hey guys, Gwinnett here, doing another Standard Pauper Deck Tech, showing off Hawks that I played in MPDC 14-6. This is round 3. Thought this would be an interesting match to watch. I played against Shifting Shadows. My opponent won the dice roll. Let's go ahead and get into this and take a look at my opener. Alright, so here, a pretty decent hand, but unfortunately only one land. Yeah, not much to say. Definitely going to have to mull that. My opponent is going to mull to 6, and I will as well. Alright, here, same kind of story. Not a terrible hand, other than the fact that it only has one land. Definitely have to mull that as well. Might be tempted if that was a Plains to go ahead and keep it. It would be a pretty greedy keep. But it would give me 2 chances to draw the second land to get the Prophetic Prism down. And, you know, a couple of Prisms, a couple of Glenhawks is pretty good, but with a Swamp, there's just, it's not even worth considering. So I will go ahead and mull to 5, and this I end up keeping. Definitely a better hand. Can do a turn 2 Squadron Hawk, have several chances to draw that third land to get the Rager down. Nice to have an artifact for Glenhawk, but not really necessary. So I will keep. My opponent did keep at 6, so here we go, we're off. Opponent plays out an Evolving Wilds. I don't know anything about what he was playing yet. I draw the third land, which is great. Here could have gone ahead and just played out the land and held on to the Bojuka Bog, but I really want to probably play Phyrexian Rager on turn 3. So in that case, it does make sense to go ahead and run out the Bog. As disappointing as that is, it is nice to hold on to it in case your opponent has graveyard shenanigans, but in this case, it's definitely the right play to go ahead and drop it. My opponent fetches a mountain, and we'll see what else he's got here. Plays out a forest, and he is in fact, as you will see in a second here, he is in fact playing red-green landfall, which is an interesting archetype. It's not as common as the red-white version. You lose out on step lengths, which is really, you know, in my opinion, one of the hallmarks of it, and not having any. Of course, Skyfishers to bounce lands, but it is an interesting choice, and like I said, I think this will be an interesting match here. So here, go ahead and find yet another land. Obviously, still going to go ahead and play the Plains, so I can get a blocker down, get the Squadron Hawk out, and fill my hand with Squadron Hawks. So after that, I will pass the turn back. Alright, so let's see what my opponent's going to do here. He plays out a Sylvan Lifestack, which he goes ahead and equips. Now, it's an interesting decision here, block or don't block. But the fact that he has a Terramorphic Expanse and that he could hit for 6 damage if I don't block here makes it pretty easy. I'll just go ahead and block. Nice thing about Squadron Hawk is it's a really cheap blocker. You get several of them, so I really don't feel bad here at all going ahead and just chumping, even though I do have a lot of life and it's early. Against a really aggressive deck, sometimes all you can do is chump. You know, you could argue whether that's the right decision at this point in the game, but that's what it did, and it ends up working out for me pretty well. So I'm not too unhappy with that particular line of play. All right, so I draw a Prism, which is a great draw. Goes ahead and turns on my Glenhawk. And I think here, well, let's see. I'm not sure which I ended up doing. If I ended up playing out the Squadron Hawk, or if I go ahead and do the Prism and the Glenhawk, or even go ahead and play out the Rager. Actually, I think that that's the right play here. It's just to go ahead and drop the Rager, and again have the option of chumping. It draws me a card, so it doesn't feel as bad going ahead and jumping off with it, because while 3 mana and a life for drawing a card isn't great, it's not terrible. So that is in fact what I end up doing here, and draw a Gravedigger, which is going to end up being very useful considering the amount of times I'm chumping. Go ahead and pass it back here. My opponent finds yet another of these fetch lands, which definitely means I will chump if I'm given the opportunity here. So he does just go ahead and swing in, and once again I will chump off. Again, saving myself. Could be another potential 8 damage here. Very great start to have a play to GAP, me not have any removal, and yeah, to be able to sit there and just keep swinging in. But fortunately I have enough chump blockers here that it doesn't end up doing too much damage. And interestingly enough, my opponent doesn't have any other plays, and so he just passes the turn back. Alright, draw a Life Staff, which again is going to be very helpful here. Unfortunately, based upon my land situation, I can't just drop a Squadron Hawk and go ahead and equip the Life Staff, which is what I would like to do if I had a fourth land. Since I can't do that, I think here just playing out a Squadron Hawk and a Life Staff and going ahead and popping the Evolving Wilds is going to be the right play. Let's see what I do here. That is indeed what I'm going to go ahead and do. Here would obviously go ahead and fetch a Swamp. Go ahead and... Oh, I played out the Prism. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to play the Prism here instead. I mean, that's fine. I end up chumping with the Glenhawk as opposed to the Squadron Hawk, but it does get the Prism into play and gives me one extra card draw, which certainly isn't bad. And the fact that I draw Doomblade is really nice. I'm going to be able to take care of that plated Geobeat without a lot of trouble. So that was probably, I mean, I could see that going either way. Drawing the extra card is nice. Getting the Squadron Hawk and the Sylvic Lifestaff down a turn earlier might have been slightly better, but this certainly worked out. Alright, obviously just passing the turn back here. And once again, with the 2 fetch lands, assuming he's got, and see now he's got a third one, yeah, definitely, again, would chump given the opportunity, but my opponent does not give me that opportunity. Swings in, hits the Glenhawk with the Lightning Bolt, and here having 3 of these fetch lands makes it a pretty devastating attack. He's already at 4 thanks to the the land drop and the Sylvic Lifestaff, and could potentially here hit for 6, 8, and 10. I believe that is in fact, yeah, that is in fact what he goes ahead and does. Just goes ahead and pops them all out. Makes sense if I was playing lightning bolts or other burn spells, it might make sense to hold on to those Evolving Wilds. But generally speaking, I'm going to be able to just do unconditional removal anyway, so they're not really that helpful. Of course, I don't know if he knows I'm playing the -4/-4, which in that case, holding on to the fetch lands might have been a better option, but it's fine. Probably just trying to go ahead and win quickly here, and certainly hitting me for 10 damage here on his 5th turn is pretty good. Obviously doesn't have another play. Keeping up an untapped forest, I have to keep in mind that he may be able to defend against the Doomblade. Go ahead and draw Pith Driller, which is certainly a nice draw. Alright, so here, didn't draw the land. Could go ahead and run out the Pith Driller and see if I can kill off the plated Geobeat with a -1/-1. Alternatively, could play another blocker and just Doomblade. The advantage, well, I could see it either way. Either way, you end up with you're going to end up with a blocker, which is really the important thing here. So looks like I do just go ahead and try the Doomblade. My opponent does not have any way of deflecting it, which is great. He gains the 3 life, which is not incidental, but not too worried about it yet. And then I'll play out the Squadron Hawk so that I have another blocker. All right, let's see what happens here. Pass it back. My opponent is going to find a Territorial Baloth. That's, I guess, the payoff for playing red-green. Now, in my opinion, though, the problem with this card, this would be an awesome card if it had Trample. If it had Trample, it would be really, really good. The fact that you can just continually chump it, in my opinion, makes it. I mean, it's fine, but I don't really know if it's worth the cost. If it's really a great card or not. So he goes ahead and equips the Sylvic Lifestaff and just passes the turn back. So here, draw another land, which is going to be helpful eventually. Again, could play out the Pith Driller and have a blocker. Don't really know if that's the best choice, though. Probably better is going to be to play out the Sylvic Lifestaff, equip it on the Squadron Hawk, and then either play another Squadron Hawk or a Prism. So let's see what I do here. Do go ahead and play out that Lifestaff and get it equipped on the Squadron Hawk so that I can chump and gain some life. And then I do just go ahead and play out the Squadron Hawk there. I think that's fine. Obviously not going to attack. If he does have another lightning spell, I'll definitely, almost certainly have a blocker. I don't think, it's unlikely that he has 2 in hand. Goes ahead and swings in. I'm going to block, obviously, with the Lifestaff and gain another life, taking me back up to 12. And my opponent has no other play. Alright, so draw a second Pith Driller. Here, let's see. Could do a couple things. Could go ahead and pay the life for the Phyrexian mana, drop the Pith Driller for 4, and then still have 1 to equip the Squadron Hawk. Alternatively, could play out a Prism and a Squadron Hawk and equip. That's probably, again, I mean, I could see value either way. I really don't want to lose any life, trying to keep my life total as high as possible. So I would probably just go ahead and do a Prism and a Squadron Hawk and equip, but either way is probably defensible. So that is indeed what I'm going to go ahead and do here. And then play out the Prism. Oh, and he has a Lightning Bolt for the Squadron Hawk that I equip. So now I have an interesting decision. Do I go ahead and equip for the life gain, or do I just chump? And I think the decision is pretty clear. I want to go ahead and just put it on him. He has yet no, he doesn't have it. He fake pumps, but doesn't in fact have another Lightning Bolt. So then I'm able here to chump and continue to gain life, which is pretty big, keeping me in this game. So Bushwhacker goes ahead and puts it on that. So I'm going to get hit for 3 here, but that's not that bad. Plus, I'm then going to be able to use Pith Driller to take out the Goblin Bushwhacker. So take a little damage here, but nothing too serious. And now my opponent is out of cards, so that's going to be nice as well. Don't have to worry about that. All right, so here, go ahead and see what I draw. Find another land, which at this point is fine. Starting to have enough land to be able to do multiple things in a turn, which would be great. Go ahead and play the Pith Driller for full cost here, and then I can equip the Sylvan Lifestaff on it. So take out that Goblin Bushwhacker again. I'm really not concerned about him gaining life because I've got this long game as long as I can survive long enough to get there. So I will go ahead and equip the Pith Driller. Now, interestingly enough, even if he doesn't have any more land drops, he can still just kill the Pith Driller, and I will probably continue to chump. So, but again, as long as I keep gaining land, I think I've got the long game in hand, so I'm not as worried about it. So he continues to have lots of land here. Obviously, going to go ahead and block, just jump, save myself the damage, go up another 3 life, and my opponent will pass the turn back. So here, Kabira Crossroads is certainly a nice draw. I'll play that out. I think here I'll just play out the Pith Driller. This time I'll put a -1/-1 counter on the Baloth and equip it. Equip it with the Life Staff and just keep going, keep playing. Taking its toughness down is nice. He now has to pump it to attack with it, which is really nice, or otherwise it trades. And of course, obviously, I'd be more than happy to trade off for it. He finds yet another land. That's probably the downside of Landfall, is generally it's a fairly aggressive deck, but because you need the landfall, you have to continue to put lots of land in there. And unfortunately, at times like this, when what you really need is gas, you end up drawing a lot of land, and while it's turning on the landfall, it isn't really helping him. So again, I'll just chump, taking me back up to 20. A very healthy life total. Draw yet another land, which is unfortunate, but considering the number of lands he's drawn, and yeah, that I'll find use for it eventually, so that's fine. Play out the Prism here. See what I draw. Find yet another land. Here I can go ahead and run out the Gravedigger and equip it. And again, probably just get back a Pith Driller here. I think that's got to be the right choice. Yeah, that is indeed what I do. Go ahead and grab the Pith Driller, and I can continue to, kind of dink away at the Territorial Baloth, or if he plays any of his other, another plated Geopede or anything like that, I'll be able to take it out pretty easily. Obviously here, going to go ahead and equip the Sylvan Lifestaff again, and yeah, pass the turn back. And again, the Gravedigger's big enough now because of that -1/-1 counter to take out the Territorial Baloth unless he pumps it. So, which is a great advantage. He's going to go ahead and attack here. Now again, I'm obviously going to block. It forces him to use his last fetch land, and really doesn't, I was going to block anyway, so it really doesn't change anything for him to wait. But, I guess it's good to know. He'll go ahead and play that out. I'll go ahead and block. His guy stays alive. My guy goes to the graveyard. And let's see what else he has. Does have the Geopede. I'm not sure if I would have played that out in this case. Had he waited, I probably would have played the Pith Driller out anyway as a blocker, and then he could have kept the plated Geopede alive. Also, knowing that he had it in his hand, I don't know if he would have wanted to keep... Oh, it wouldn't have mattered because it's a -1/-1 counter. Never mind. I was thinking he might want to keep the Terramorphic, but it doesn't make any difference because it's counter, it's not damage. So I'll play out this Prism, find a Doomblade, which is great. I'm going to be able to take out the Territorial Baloth, and then also be able to take out the plated Geopede and really be in great shape. Now there I do go ahead and pay the Phyrexian cost. Why not? I'm up to 21 life. It's not an issue. He's out of cards again, so get rid of that. And I even have enough to go ahead and equip the Life Staff and pass the turn back. So now, after being down way low in life and wondering how I was ever going to win this game, I've managed to clear the opponent's board and am at a very healthy life total. And yeah, now we'll see if I can go ahead and pull this out. So let's see what my opponent's got here. Finds another territorial Baloth, but again, that's fine. We're just back to the jumping game. I find a Grasp of Darkness, which is great. I can go ahead and just grasp that thing out of the way and go ahead and swing in with the Pith Driller and pass the turn back. So now we're both in top decking mode, but I'm happy. That's a happy place to be because I know that I've got enough card draw in here. If I can find a Kor Skyfisher or another one of the Glenhawks, I'll have no problem drawing out of this first. So plays a Hedron Rover. Again, I'm really not very impressed with that card at all. A 2/2 for 4 is not great. I mean, the landfall is nice, but you just get a 4/4 for 4, which, while fine, isn't anything special. So I'm not sure I really think that's a great card for him to be playing. But in this archetype, if you're not playing white, you don't have a lot of other choices. I almost wonder if it'd be better to go ahead and just add white, splash white, even if just for Kor Skyfisher. You've got enough fetch lands. Really, if you're going to be playing all those Terramorphics, there's no reason why you can't go 3-color. You've got enough draw that it's not really going to slow you down much, but that's just my opinion. All right, find the Doomblade. Could go ahead and Doomblade here. Not sure if that's really the best choice or not, considering that I can easily just attack here and not have to worry about it. He can't block profitably. So that's interesting, though. I don't go ahead and attack in. Not really sure why there. I think there really isn't a good reason not to just go ahead and attack in there. So that's unfortunate. To what my opponent does here. My opponent also is not going to attack, just takes his card and passes the turn back. And I draw Glenhawk, which is great. Could go ahead and bounce the Pith Driller, but I think here the life gain is really more important than the -1/-1 counter. And so we'll just go and replay the Prism. Let's see what else we can draw here. Fire Crossroads, which at this point isn't as important, but that's fine. Now here the question is, now do I want to go ahead and Doomblade? And it doesn't look like I do. And again, I don't attack. Again, I'm not sure. I don't understand what I was so afraid of. I think I should have just been swinging in. I mean, yes, his life total is higher than mine, but he doesn't have any hasted creatures other than the Goblin Bushwhacker, and he doesn't have anything dangerous on the board. So yeah, I probably should have just attacked both those times, but was still probably trying to be too cautious. Was worried about life gain, but shouldn't have been. All right, so he does find another land, which is fine. He'll swing in. And now I'm going to go ahead and use the Doomblade, which is fine. I probably could have Doombladed a lot earlier. He has a Searing Blaze to go ahead and take out the Glenhawk, which is fine because, once again, we're at the same situation now. I've got a Pith Driller and his board is clear. He's got a lot more life, but in the end, that's not going to be too bad. So find a Skyfisher, probably the best thing I could have drawn. Very happy to draw that. Swing in with Pith Driller, take damage, play out the Kor Skyfisher, bounce a Prophetic Prism, yada, yada, yada. And draw yet another land, which is unfortunate, but that's fine. All right, let's see what my opponent's got here. He just draws and passes the turn back. I draw Gravedigger, which is really, really great. I can Gravedigg my Gravedigger, hold a Gravedigger in hand, and really be set up to be in a great place here. So swing in with both my attackers. Play out the Gravedigger to fetch a Gravedigger, which is and then I could play out the Gravedigger and get yet another card, get a Glenhawk back, continue to dig, but really at this point I'd rather just hold the Gravedigger in hand, so anything he kills I can just pull back out. It's personal preference, I guess. It's not, again, is one better than the other? I don't know. Another interesting card choice in Snapping Creeper. It's a good creature. I mean, you don't get much for the landfall. Vigilance can be helpful if you're in a race situation. But again, not a card I've ever played. It's fine, but I don't think it's a strong reason to want to play Landfall. 2/3 for 3 is fine, but again, not anything special. So, swing in here with the Gravedigger, the Pith Driller, and the Kor Skyfisher. Obviously, now I'm kind of on this beatdown plan, even though I haven't quite caught up in life yet, but now I have. And again, I'm not really missing much. Go ahead and protect the Kor Skyfisher with the Life Staff, and pass the turn back. Opponent finds yet another fetch land, which doesn't do a whole lot. He swings in for 3 and finds yet another one of those Snapping Creepers, which is fine. Draw another land. Now here there's not as much of a reason to attack here since he can block 2 of them. Could trade a Gravedigger for the Snapping Creeper, but he's likely at that point just to go ahead and obviously use the one with the Life Staff and gain life, so it doesn't really do a whole lot. So here, just swing in with the Skyfisher. And then pass the turn back. Alright, so let's see what my opponent has. Goes ahead and plays out his land. Gets Vigilance on both those guys. Can block one of them with the Pith Driller, take 3. You know, again, not really too worried about that. Finds another Hedron Rover, which I'm really not concerned about at this point. And let's see what else to draw. Find yet another Gravedigger, which is just great. So now I can go ahead and pull out a Glenhawk and bounce another Prism and continue to draw cards. And plus have, you know, a decent Air Force, which at this point is going to get around all his land guys really, really easily. That's another reason why Landfall typically plays white, is you just need flyers. Flyers are such an important part of Standard Pauper right now, with the, you know, with how overemphasized Core Skyfisher and Squadron Hawks are. So not having anything that can block in the air is really a pretty big liability. So continue to draw, find a Life Staff, and just continue to swing over in the air. Not a whole lot he can do at this point. And yeah, feeling pretty good about this match at this point. Finds a Colony Heart, which does absolutely nothing at this point. He just equips and passes back. Find another Rager. Keep drawing. The land isn't great, but it's fine. And 6 in the air. And next turn, if he doesn't have some way of getting rid of one of my flyers, that'll be good game. So let's see what he's got here. No attacks. And I draw, of course, Sanctifiers, which is great. Can go ahead and blow up the Hedron Rover. Here I should have just attacked. I was a little greedy to go ahead and blow up the Rover. There's really not any reason. It doesn't affect my attack at all. It just wastes time. Now I am ahead on the clock, but, you know, getting rid of the Life Staff just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't. It does allow me to attack with everything, I guess, which maybe is more of a guaranteed win. So I take that back. That's actually not a bad angle. I was thinking I was just going to swing it with my flyers. But this allows me to turn everything sideways, which is definitely better. So never mind. Good play. Good play. Swing in with everything, and obviously my opponent concedes. All right, so that was game 1. I'll be back in just a minute for game 2.